Joe, what's happening, brother?
I'm doing good, Kenny.
Good,
Glad to be back.
Yeah, I'm glad you're back.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have any clients that I mean, I know we talk about nutrition and stuff all the time. I mean, because that's a part of what we do here. You know what I mean? The fitness is great, but the results, you know, there's a reason they say abs are made in the kitchen, not in the gym. You know what I mean? But have you ever had any clients that had like eating disorders, or do you focus on that kind of stuff, on their nutrition as much? What do you,
as a trainer, I know my limitations. I mean, I have studied nutrition, and but I can't physically and I guess legally hand out a nutrition program. But I usually try to just coach them through their nutrition, and usually it's people from under eating or overeating. And the thing is just kind of knowing what your body will handle when it comes to certain foods. Like I tell everybody, there's probably a food that you could eat every single day that would make someone else bloated, and you would feel completely fine.
Exactly.
And that's where we kind of talked about in the last episode, where training is, there's not only one way to train, there's not only one way to eat either. You know, you have to find what works for your body. Like, for example, like especially in the bodybuilding industry, like peanut butter, like, oh, everyone loves peanut butter, but it's like, what about someone with peanut allergies? Are you going to tell them to eat a peanut butter with peanut? So I mean, of course there are other options, but again, like, everyone's bodies react to different foods differently. And when it comes to the eating disorders, it really is from more of the mentality and their lack of eating. Usually they're like, oh, I eat this, this, and this. I'm like, is that it? Like, yeah, and I'm not losing weight. And it's kind of like, well, you're not eating enough. You got to, like you talked about in your other podcasts, that you have to feed your body. Your body needs fuel. And the thing is, it's like, what type of fuel is it getting? Is it quality fuel? Is it quality food you're getting? And that's where people get misunderstood. Well, I'm only eating this. But I'm like, you need to eat a lot of that, especially when it comes to the macronutrients. It's like, are you getting the right macros, and is your body getting enough of it? You may think like, oh, I eat healthy for a meal, and then I eat anything else. I'm like, well, that's just one meal. You need probably like 3 or 4 more of those, you know, just for your body to survive.
Speaking of that, I'm hungry. But you know what? It's the same thing. I always tell people, of course, getting a proper amount of calories is important, but it's not so much about the calories, it's where we're getting our calories from. And that's what's important. That's what you talk about, that quality. And that's what I try to tell people. One of the things that annoy me more than anything, man, is when I'm, if I've trained somebody to compete in a show, whether it's bodybuilding, figure, or whatever, and people see these people step on stage and how lean they look and fit and everything else, and then the first thing they want to know is, what is she eating? What is he eating? What did they do? And this and that or whatever. And I'm like, no, that's not for you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's not for you. You're different than them. You know, people always try to I ain't gonna say categorize. I don't even know, but I guess when they see somebody use something and it works for them, they think it's going to work for themselves too. You know what I mean? I had somebody a couple nights ago. I was here training, and I was eating 2 oranges. I was eating a couple oranges. It was after my evening workout, and I was eating a couple oranges. I had my pre-workout, and they came in the door and they were like, "What are you doing, Kenny? You're eating fruit at night. You said no fruit at night." And I was like, you just confused your goals with my goals. You know what I mean? We're 2 different animals. We got different goals. You know what I'm saying? I'm eating what I'm supposed to be eating right now, you know, but people always do that. So
well, it's funny though, because there's always that those myths you hear about nutrition, like, oh, you can only eat certain foods during a certain time, or you don't eat past a certain time. I'm like, when people ask me, so like, Joe, like, do you eat like you don't eat anything after 7 or whatever the time is? I'm like, actually, my biggest meals are like probably late at night. That's probably one of the biggest meals I have. And it works, and it helps me for what I'm trying to do.
What you're trying to do, exactly. And me too. I mean, I eat right before I go to bed. I have something right before I go to bed. I leave the gym here at 9:30, 10 o'clock. I get home, and I'll throw something on the grill most of the time. You know, steak, broccoli, whatever, some asparagus, and then I'll have a protein shake before bed. You know what I mean, or something like that. But Yeah, people. We're all different. We're all different,
Yes.
and we all have different goals. And you want to eat different ways to reach your goals. Don't try and put yourself in the same category as everybody else. All right, your goals are different. Your body's different. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
that's the way it is. But don't be afraid to eat.
Yeah.
Food is the key.
Yeah, and speaking of like eating, and I remember you giving a pep talk to one of the baseball teams, and that's when it kind of hit home to me when we're talking about the topic of eating disorders. Was like after hearing you speak to the kids, like, hey, you guys need to eat. You guys are athletes. You guys have to constantly be eating, especially with all the calories you're burning. Your body needs that energy because, like I told you after you gave that speech, I was like, I wish I had someone who told me that because what a lot of people don't know, and I don't even think you know, like, I actually used to be bulimic.
You what?
Bulimic. Yeah, I used to be bulimic.
Wow.
So after every meal, I would throw up my food.
Holy crap! I
And
didn't know.
yeah, and that started at a very young age. Coming from a Polynesian background, we're kind of, I mean, we tend to be overweight and obese, and I've always been active in sports, and luckily that's what helped me keep my figure, was just always being active and playing something all the time. But my family, they were overweight, and some of them were obese, and I just didn't want that to happen to me, and so at a young age, I thought, well, do you know what, if I eat something, I'll just throw it up. Not even noting it was an eating disorder, because I was a kid, I didn't know what bulimia was, and so it always went on through my childhood, through high school, and then even in college. And then in college, that's when I started taking nutrition and training seriously, because I met a really good friend who we actually found out we're actually distant cousins, which is crazy. But I started training with him and everything, and I just told him about my energy levels, and he's like, well, what's your diet like and everything? And I said, well, I eat this, and this, and if I eat something bad and I feel bad about it, I just throw it up. And of course, in his eyes, he's like, you got a eating disorder. And I'm like, I'm just like, no, I'm just getting, I'm like, this is just what I do, and this is just me getting all the bad food out of me. I'm like, that way it's not sitting there, because I don't want to be fat or overweight, and have that associated with our culture, because like that is the one thing why I want to be that Polynesian that changes the culture of fitness. Because you really don't hear. I mean, you hear Polynesians being strong, but you don't really see them or playing football or rugby or sports, but you don't see them as like, oh, like they like to stay fit. And I wanted to change that. And of course, I was going about it the wrong way. And when I took my, so he's just like, yeah, you have a problem, but. He's like, you should probably see someone about that. And of course, I didn't have a mental breakdown or anything. I just thought that was normal. That was the way I'm going to keep my figure. And I took an advanced nutrition class in a kinesiology class, and we started talking about the biomechanics, and pretty much the way the body moves, and the way your body absorbs nutrients, and one of the topics was bulimia, and they went over all the signs and everything and what it does to your body, and I was like, oh, I didn't know I have a problem that way, and and pretty much that one semester in school with my friend / cousin pretty much changed my life forever, because even when I was in college and I was playing football, like I was underperforming, and I was like, I didn't know the reason why, and I was like, man, I was trained and come from an old school background. Hey, you train as hard as you can, but it came to a point where like, yes, I was training hard, but I wasn't eating enough, or I wasn't holding enough, and
you didn't have the fuel.
I didn't have any fuel, and it really ruined my college career, because the time the season started, I was
wiped out.
I was wiped out. It was pretty much like I remember the first game in my sophomore year. It was pretty much, I went through 2-a-days.
Wow.
Like that's the way I felt every single day. Wow. And I didn't know why. I had no idea why. But everyone else, of course they're beat up and bruised, but like they have the energy and I didn't. And it really affected my performance.
Wow.
And so that's when I always tell people, I'm like, you shouldn't, especially with now, I'm more of an intuitive eater now. I mean, I used to like make sure my macros are down, make sure I only had X amount of protein, X amount of carbs, X amount of fats. But now I'm a very routine person to where it's like I could almost eat the same thing every day, where I don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
I already know what I'm eating, and I know I have enough proteins, carbs, and fats for the day.
Exactly.
You know, just from routine and like you talked about in the last episode, repetition.
Right.
Just know, like even going to eat out, I know exactly what I'm getting because I know what's in the food.
Exactly.
Already.
I think that might come with going through stuff like that, because a lot of people don't know this about me. I don't think I've ever had an eating disorder, but I was malnourished when I was young. I was malnourished, and my skin was really pale. I mean, I could use all the lotion and baby oil I wanted to, and I still looked pale. But it affected everything. It affected my hair. It affected everything. And my mom took me to a doctor, and they gave me some kind of tonic. They gave me some kind of tonic. I don't know what it was, but whatever. But it gave me the vitamins and minerals that my body was missing. And after that, when I got a little bit older, I always remember that. I still remember that, and I never want to be there again. You know what I mean? So one of the things that so food has always been a big thing to me. Now, if anything, I overeat most of the darn time. But I'm like you, man. I know what I put in my body each day, because I'm like, it's almost like a ritual. I know what I'm gonna wake up to. I know like right now I'm hungry. I know what I'm going to go home and eat. I'm going to go home and eat some chicken and vegetables right now. And then, I just know everything that, and it's crazy though. It's crazy. I didn't know that about you, man. But I always tell people to take the time, maybe for a good month or so, and we do it with the boot camp. Write down everything you eat every day, and the times that you eat it and everything. And then let me look it over, and we can red flag things that, that we want to take off the list, that we want to, put in there that'll help you get where you want to go. And then just remember it. You got it written down on paper. Remember it and just follow it. Continue to follow it. And and once you do that for a good month, when you eat an egg, you know how many calories it is, you know how much protein you're getting, when you eat this much vegetables, when you eat however many baked potatoes, you know exactly what you're putting in your body, because it just becomes habitual, you know what I mean? And those numbers are whatever they are, so. Yeah.
No, and I love that you mentioned like journaling your food, because that's how I first started, when I started this whole fitness journey. And I think a lot of people, when they're under eating or they're overeating, and a lot of them are like, oh, I'm not losing weight, or I'm not doing this. And it really is like, if you look at their food journal, I'm like, and you take a look at it, like, is that really all you ate?
Exactly.
Or I'm like, or did you either way under ate, or you didn't write some things down.
It's
like you can't, like, it's like the way, and that's where I'm not a big fan of the scale, because the scale can, because my weight fluctuates like 10 pounds. It fluctuates 10 pounds throughout the day. And I'm just like, the way you can know is that, are your clothes fitting better? Do you have more energy? Do you feel good during your workouts? How do you even look in the mirror? And I always give an example, like I always sometimes with my clients when they're struggling with body image. I always show them a picture. I'm just like, okay, look at these two pictures. What do you think looks better? And they're like, oh, the one on the right. I'm like, guess what? I'm actually 15 pounds heavier in this picture than this one. And they're like, no way. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you can't. I'm like, the scale is it's just a weight. That's all. That's all it is.
Doesn't tell you whether or not you're dehydrated. Whether you're bloated. With women, sometimes being on your period, it's, those kind of things. I always tell people, if you want to lose weight, chop your leg off. Hey, you be 50 pounds lighter. But now you got two problems. You only got one leg and you're still fat. You know what I'm saying? So, so it's not about the weight. I don't like the scale either, but that's why we got the bod pod. I like to get people in there and, get their body fat. But you're right, man. The way your clothes fit, the way you look, losing weight, you might look better in your clothes, but losing fat, you're gonna look better naked. You know.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's the whole goal right there. Because if you look good naked, you're gonna look good in clothes anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the goal.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of putting it.
Anyway, man. Hey, dog, I appreciate you.
No, I appreciate being back. Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna keep talking on
Okay.
stuff, man. So we're gonna hit y'all up real soon on another episode. But I hope y'all stay well. We'll holler at you soon. Peace.
All right.